Call to order the meeting on Monday, June 28, 2021 at 2 o'clock. As always, we'll ask Commissioner Mendenhall if he would lead us in our prayer.
Thank you. Join me if you would. Almighty, gracious Heavenly Father, what a beautiful day you've given us today. What a beautiful weekend we had. And Lord, I want to come to you today and ask for your guidance and your wisdom and your leadership as we go through the county's business. Lord, we thank you for all the mighty things you do for us. You take care of our families. You look after us. And we just say we know it's all in your hands. And today, Lord, we ask that you give us a meeting that will be honorable to the citizens of Stokes County, and then give us a safe trip, everyone that is here, a safe trip home. All of these things we ask in thy precious name. Amen.
Amen. Please continue standing for our Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioners, before we go into approving the agenda, it's been asked to amend the agenda to add the Stokes County Waste Transfer / Recycling Station updated fee schedule to the discussion agenda, which would be item I. Do I have a motion for approval?
Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. We'll now move on to our public comments. If you would, when I say your name, if you would just come up here, state your name, your address, and you'll have 4 minutes to speak. Either Shannon or Amber want to kind of let you know when it's getting close to the end. If you could, if you hear the timer go off, please wrap it up quickly. Up first, we have Mr. Robert Griffin. Yes. Mm-hmm.
I'm Robert Griffin. I live in Old 52 in Pinnacle, and I'd like to give you my opinion on the possibility of a dump in Pinnacle. I don't have no clue as to what stage anybody is thinking on this. I've just heard rumor on this. But in my opinion, it's not suitable for Pinnacle to move it up there on High Bridge. The traffic would be horrendous. As you can see how the traffic is at the present site after holidays, especially on Saturday. I've lived there for 20 years in Pinnacle, and it's a quiet, nice neighborhood, no stoplights, no stop signs, great place to live. But to me, it's just not a good idea to put a dump there. To me, downtown Pinnacle is a fire station, post office, and hardware store, and a couple churches. I'm not a member of the Methodist Church there, but I know they have festivals and the like. So think about your church. How would you like to have a fall festival at your church? And when you're selling pies, cakes, cookies, hamburgers, hot dogs on a nice crisp autumn Saturday morning. And what's outside? 10 or 15, maybe 20 trailers and trucks lined up to go to a dump right outside your church. That to me, and I'm sure you wouldn't want it at your church. I'm not a member there. I do go to the church, to the festivals, and I don't think that would be what the church members would want. I don't think the community would want it, simply because the traffic. A lot of people come from King to go to that dump. And also, right over the hill is a Pinnacle's very first winery. He's probably, I don't know the gentleman, but he's probably sunk a couple $1 million into this outfit where he's got the grapes and wine tasting building. Also, I know at the present dump, a lot of people come there after a while, after hours, and just put their trash at the gate. We don't want that in Pinnacle. So if traffic is the problem, why not put up more signs other than the one that's there that says trucks entering highway? Put more signs up, put up blinking lights, yellow blinking lights, both directions for that location. And signs, and maybe lower the speed limit. But to me, that is a good place. So I see my time's up, but really, in my opinion, the community and the traffic situation would be sort of horrendous. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your. Sure. I crawled under the desk right here. Where did you get that alarm at?
I guess that's the one I wake up to every morning. Does the trick. So, I'm here.
That did scare me a bit. I ain't never heard that before. Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Up next, as always, Mr. Savarsi.
Hi, my name is Sri Ananda Sarvashri. I live at 1060 Tyler Road in Walnut Cove. And I wanted to follow up on my presentation last time on resilience for the community in case of power failures. I was on the net and noticed that in 2018, the Department of Homeland Security has recommended that every family have a 6-month supply of food on hand. To give you an idea what a 6-month supply of food would be, I'll give you the 1-year supply that is recommended by the Mormons. They do a good job of storing food. And they recommend for one adult, grains, 400 pounds of grains. Legumes, that includes dry beans and split peas and lentils and such, 60 pounds. Powdered milk, 16 pounds. Cooking oil, 10 quarts. Sugar or honey, 60 pounds. Salt, 8 pounds. And a 2-week water supply would be 14 gallons. So that's the recommended 1-year supply. That's a lot of food to have on hand. So for a couple, that would be 800 pounds of grains for a year. So we don't think about it, how much food we eat in a year and how much we would have to have on hand to survive for a year. It's a lot of food. And so people, I recommend, should start, socking away, 30, 40, 50 pounds a month or something until they have at least 6 months supply of food. If you go to my website, rebuildhealth.com, I have a blog there called Heaven, which is my promotion of creating heaven on earth in Stokes County. And the last time I was here, I talked about resilience and how difficult it would be if the grid went down. And there's the potential for the grid to go down. Obviously, Department of Homeland Security thinks it's worth having at least a 6-month supply of food on hand. But the grid could go down for up to 8 to 10 years if there was a CME that hit planet Earth from the sun, coronal mass ejection, that would knock out the high voltage transformers, which are, at this point, irreplaceable. So it's a big deal, and we should think about what we can do to protect the people of Stokes County. I gave you the portions for one adult. For a child, the proportions would be 3 years old at 50%, and 11 and up about 100%, and 4 to 6, 70%, 7 to 10, 90%. So even children have a quite a large, because they're growing, they have a large need for food for a year, just as adults do. So I would recommend starting your supply of food. Learn about local water sources. They recommended only a 2-week supply, 14 gallons. That would not last very long if we lost power and we had no water supply, which would also be lost without power. So you would want to know what creeks and what lakes and what rivers are nearby you that you could get water, and you could have a purifier that you could pour through. They have these purifying straws that you can drink through. I don't know if you've seen those things, but those would be great. So learn about local water sources, learn to grow a garden, and I'll try to put up more on my website at rebuildhealth.com/heaven. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I have to run off.
We'll now move on to our comments from our commissioners and managers, starting with Commissioner Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Welcome everybody here and online if you're watching us on the internet. Would like to let you know that the county's got a new website up, so I would encourage folks to check that out and give us some feedback on what you like or what you may not like about that, and we'll tweak it. Mr. Griffin, I appreciate your comments on the site over there. We first started looking at this, we were given the impression there was a really big problem, but we've had a lot of folks like you come and talk since then. It leads to me believe that there really wasn't as big a problem as we thought there was with the current site. So speaking for myself, I'm not in any hurry whatsoever to move the dump over to the place you were talking about. So I think our board we probably need to do something to kind of relieve the concerns about that, but I'll leave that, let the other commissioners speak on that if they desire to do so. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Barney Kessel.
Again, to reiterate, Mr. Commissioner Morris said, I'd like to welcome everyone watching. I'd just like to send a special thanks out for all the phone calls and the texts and the visits I got with the passing of my niece last week. You never know what the next call is going to be when you leave a fire station. Remember all the folks down in Miami. They've got a big disaster going on down there. A lot of folks is unaccounted for. Several has died. We need to keep those in our prayer as well. And touching on the landfill, the waste treatment area that Mr. Morris was talking about, I've actually visited that site where they were talking about putting it. I rode up and looked at it. Me personally, I'm like him. I'm in no hurry to move on it. I just don't think it's really a great location. I think other things could be done to the site we got now to make it better and more safer for people. So that's all I got, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Mendenhoff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I just want to also welcome everybody here today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for wanting to help and give input to the governmental process in Stokes County. It means a lot to us that you feel like it's important enough to take time out of your day and come here. And to everyone that is watching this live stream, thank you for taking your time out of your day also. And I just want to say I hope everyone had a good weekend. It was a beautiful weekend. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Cox.
Yeah, I would just reiterate everything they're saying here, and thank everybody for being here and watching online. And myself and Commissioner Barney Kessel weren't on the board when the Pinnacle dump site was talked about originally, and I've rode up there as well. And I also contacted the Highway Patrol, who gave me some background on accidents that had happened out where the old dump site is on old 52, and there's only been 3 or 4 in like 5 years that were right near the dump that were anything to do with it. So it's not as, I think the concern is on Saturday morning and when it backs up. And I think there are things we can do, maybe make a turning lane there and lower the speed limit. I'd just like to see this board kind of talk with the DOT and see what they could do to make it safer and just leave it where it's at. So I think in the future we'll be talking a little bit more about that. So thanks for your comments, and thank you, Mr. Skarsky, for your warning. You're trying to give us a heads up, and I appreciate it. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am. Welcome, everybody. God bless you. Thank you for being here, for those that are here and also online, and the ones that's going to be watching us later. I appreciate you staying involved, and ones coming to talk. I appreciate you giving an update from things that you see, because we don't see and hear everything out there. When you come talk to us, that's let us know what's going on in different areas. With that right there, Commissioner Barney Castle, you've been in my prayers this weekend. I hope you and your family are doing well, and we'll continue to pray for you. Also been many other things going on, so just a lot of prayers needed right now. Just kind of touch base on what Mr. Griffin had come up here and talked about. Is he still here? Okay, I'm sorry. I overlooked you right there. Is your mind kind of a little bit more at ease after hearing what the commissioners have said? I said, is your mind a little bit more at ease after what you heard right here?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Well, that makes us feel better. But kind of wrap this thing up, it seemed like when I first come on the board, which was back in 2018, this was kind of brought forward maybe before I'd come on, and Commissioner Morris and Commissioner Yance at the time. And it seemed like it was a problem that was going on at the time. And I've talked to different ones in the area. I've talked to private contractors who come by and pick up trash. And it seemed like one thing that's changed between now and 2018 is that more people have gone to the private sector end of it getting their trash up. So as far as the traffic, it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. So it's probably something that kind of fixed itself. So as far as moving forward with it, and unfortunately, the process of government, when you go into something like this, it got started in 2018. It seemed like things didn't really start moving until 2020, and now here it is, we're in 2021. So with the process of government, sometimes it takes a while to even get something like that up and going, but it sounds like in that time it's kind of fixed itself. So that's a blessing in disguise. But do appreciate you taking your time up here, and so Marcy, you scare me. I've got 5 kids. I ain't got enough room in my basement to store that much food, so I'm just in trouble. But I guess I could store for about 2 weeks and we'll be all right. So, but do appreciate you coming, giving your update. And with that, I'll turn it over to our county manager, Mr. Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would like to reiterate what you just said, Mr. Barnacastle. My prayers have been with you.
Thank you.
I'd like to welcome everyone and tell them all that I'm glad to be here. Anyway.
All right, thank you, sir. With that, I'll move on to approval for the consent agenda.
So moved.
In discussion?
I have a question or two, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, sir.
Just one question, actually. On Budget Amendment 114, it's talking about putting trash cans in the park for $16,000, 8 of them. So did it say 8 trash cans? I'm just wondering what the cost of those are. What is it exactly we're doing with that?
I know they were talking about putting those like they have at the park, the big metal, like bear-proof, big trash cans. Is Stewart here?
The animals can't get in and out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Metal receptacles.
So they're a couple thousand a piece, though?
Yes,
Okay.
and they're $1,299 a piece.
Oh, okay. That's fine. I just want to make sure it wasn't like a little round trash can. That's all I've got.
I hope we vote these down.
Are you more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Now,
Move on to our information agenda on item A, memorial for Scotty Alley. Mr. Oakley.
Mr. Chairman, this is a request from the Board of Education. They called me last week wanting to do something in memory of Scotty Alley's service that he had given to the Board of Education at the old courthouse, the board office, and the many years that he's been there and helping with his sister and the school board, because they just gave him something to do. But he was happy to be there, and it was part of his life, and I just wanted to let the board know that they are doing this, and that I'm sure that you've seen this young man a lot of times down there helping with the board, and it'd just be a good thing to have a tree planted at the Board of Education in his memory and honor. So With that, I just want to let you know, and hopefully you don't have a problem with that.
Definitely don't. Everybody good with that? Any questions, comments on it? All right.
Absolutely.
It's well deserved. Do they need this moved?
That's nothing to move.
Okay,
It's
that's
just
just information. All right. Thank you, sir. Now move on to our discussion agenda. Item A, the request of continued use of building located at the old prison property. Mr. Stewart available?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
Mr. Neal, and I apologize, can't remember his last name, but he reached out to me in regards to the buildings at the old prison. And I think I'd sent, I don't know if y'all have a copy of the expenses that they've spent, but he's wanting to paint the building that they're currently using now. And I told him I didn't have a problem with it, but it ain't up to me. So I told him I'd bring it to the board, to kind of see where we were with demoing some of those buildings, and kind of get an idea before I tell him to proceed or not to proceed. Some of those buildings out there are bad. I went out there myself and looked, and they do need tearing down. This particular building is not that bad. It's a pretty nice building. So it's a block building. It's got a grease pit in it. And even if River Street left, we could still use that building. Public Works could use it. We could store stuff in it too. So I'm just trying to get an idea of what to tell them on that.
Okay. Questions, comments?
Are they leasing it now?
No.
Right.
It's just been sort of a verbal agreement for a long time, but we did put a note in there that you might want to consider just doing something, just an agreement, just so you know what's going on, they know what's going
I
on.
can address that. I made the verbal agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we did is back whenever they first got here, and they just pledged $9 million to help us get internet in. They were looking for a place central to the county to store stuff and stage their equipment, so we made a verbal contract with them just to use that space. We also had a similar thing at the time with the fire association. I think they were storing some stuff over there. I think theirs is gone now.
Yep, it's all over here.
Used to be over there, so it wouldn't hurt to do that was a verbal contract. It wouldn't hurt to do some kind of written agreement if the board wants to do that.
Any more questions, comments on it? So currently right now, they're not paying any kind of lease on it, but they have put money into it. Is there any other people in the county that's using county property that's done improvements and not paying a lease?
Not that I'm aware of, and if there is, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I don't think so.
Jake, Shannon, either one of y'all?
No.
I've not been told of any.
Okay. And I mean, also, my opinion on this moving forward, I mean, cleaning up the prisons site over there has been a huge thing on mine, especially out there at water line comes through. It's going to be a valuable piece of property right there, and I think cleaning it up is going to be making it even more valuable to get something there. But is there any other places in the county they might look at maybe moving their stuff to? Because I'd hate to see them put more money into it and we put something else to do tear it down.
If there is, it would have to be, I guess, here locally. There's nothing that I know of,
Okay.
any other buildings that I know of.
Our thinking when we were doing this, they're a nonprofit and they're reinvesting everything they make here back into the internet system for Stokes County. So the idea was to not cause them any additional expense. It would take away from what they're reinvesting back in the county. So, it's a similar arrangement to what this board did with Foss, where they had something we wanted, so we gave them county property to build a building on. We've done some funding for them. The scope, of course, is a lot less, but I would think, I agree with you. Everything except this building over there needs to be torn down. Sooner the better, I'd say, but this particular building, I think it would make a good place for us to use after they leave. They're only gonna need it as long as they're setting up either wireless or fiber internet, so at some point they'll leave, and have it for county use. I like the idea of them continuing to improve it.
Yeah.
And I'd hate to see them put money into it and part of it come down. If somebody did come interested in voting and putting something out there, and that whole part of the property, I don't know if we could just, I mean, we could section off one little piece, but.
Yeah, we've already got the Foss part sectioned off,
Yeah.
so I would think at least it would be worth looking at sectioning off that section and Foss.
Yeah.
Just making them two separate projects or whatever.
And it might be like three separate, because you got the land over beside in front of the college that the county also owns, plus the Falls, then you've got the prison, so.
Yeah, and it's right, backs up against DOT, so there may be some advantage down the road if we're using instead of River Street with our connection with stuff we're doing with DOT over there. So.
They've cleaned it up. Now, I didn't see it, you know, prior to it being cleaned up, but from what he's explained to me and what I've seen out there, it looks good. There was a drain in the parking lot, or a tile that had been covered up, and every time it would rain,
Are
it
we
would.
talking about the same building? The building,
Well, there's a couple of old buildings that's really terrible, and then there's this cinder block building.
I must be thinking about the wrong one.
This is the one that they're wanting to paint.
Right up against the gate.
Yeah, it's right against the
fence
back
of
gate.
DOT.
So they got equipment in one building that looks like the building needs to come down, right?
No equipment in anything other than the good building.
One thing about it, we have had discussions on demolition of the old prison property. In fact, I think it was 140,000 that we talked about at one point last year. I know that we didn't follow through and do that in the end. However, we did say that we could, if we wanted to go back and entertain that idea, that we could, if it wasn't in this year's budget, we could do an amendment to the budget if we wanted to go that route. And I know there was some interest in demolishing some of those old buildings.
Really all of them except this one.
Yeah.
They look bad. I've seen them. They need tearing down. But this one that they're using, it's a decent building, and they just want to paint it, and I didn't want to tell him yes or no. So.
Looks like to me they put quite a bit of money into, I mean, we may not have been charging them anything, but they've sunk a lot of money into it, which has helped us. So that's something. And painting it would be a cost that we wouldn't have to incur later, because it doesn't sound like it would be something we'd want to tear down when they move out. We would want to use it. I don't know how much longer, but I do think we need to get something in writing about the terms of their use of it, and maybe just renew it on a yearly basis or something. Year to year, we could decide.
Until you decide on what kind of demolition you want to do there, my advice to the board would be watch very carefully how long of a term that you allow on something like this.
Right.
Renewals are probably good enough.
What?
I would think if you just tell them you'll renew it annually, unless you're gonna do something else, they would probably paint it.
Right.
Yeah. I think it'd be safe to let it say they could. For now.
And you've got some agreements like with, even if it's a no-cost agreement, just to outline how it's being used and who's responsible, like if there was is that oil pit thing covered now? Like where somebody couldn't step in?
Yeah, they've got reels of stuff sitting over where you can't get in it.
Nobody could get hurt on that. Yeah, just to cover it, just to make sure they know what they're doing and you know what they're doing.
Yeah, that wouldn't hurt.
And you've got a Goodwill rent from you at the, I guess, Alder Square up there, but that's a rental. Yeah, but that's a true lease there. You're not really.
Yeah, I mean, if we do an agreement, we should have it in there where they can keep improving it if they want to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I would say this, I think we don't need any type of agreement for more than a year.
Yeah.
Due to some of the thoughts are as far as the demolition of that
Yeah.
property.
Well, no, but if a business comes in, wants that whole
That's
property
what-
right
that's what
there,
I'm
then,
saying.
yeah,
I don't think we could go over a year
right.
at max.
So as the board, point here from the board, everybody's okay with doing an agreement with them annually, just kind of put in there in verbiage that, and there's a possibility in the future that it could be taken down. Possibility.
I think they probably know that already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I
they
just make it an
realize that.
automatic annual renewal unless we stop the renewal.
Yeah, so you have to do it every
Until
time.
we're ready to do something with it.
Sounds good.
Did you want to say something, Wayne?
I agree with Commissioner Cox. If they want to paint it and there's no cost to the county, it's just a plus for the county as far as I'm concerned. All means let them do it.
Sound good.
All righty.
Thank you, sir. And we'll, it's going to be item I.
Yeah, I didn't know to do that, sorry.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Everybody good with moving that to, well, if you bring something back, can we just put on discussion to talk about, make sure we all agree with the agreement, and then move to action from there? Everybody good with that?
Yeah.
Go on item B, the tax office monthly report, Mr. Brim.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
First item, as always, we got the monthly tax collection status report. Pleased to report we've collected almost $22.8 million this fiscal year, or 102.45% of the budget amount for the general county and school operating expense. Still with a month left to report, so that's really good. Next item is real and personal releases, more than $100. We have two accounts that total $1,001.68. The next item is real and personal refunds, more than $100. We have 8 accounts that total $1,986.81. And the final item I have is we have 2 present use value late applications.
Any questions, comments? We'll put these on the consent agenda for your next meeting.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard.
Item C, to sell a tax foreclosed property, Ms. Glenda Pruitt.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
And I'm gonna move this over because I'm short and it's right in my face. What I'm bringing before you today is, back in 2018, kind of right before I started, Jake had presented some different things on surplus property, kind of the way we were doing it, or the way they were doing it. And since then, Richard and I talked a few weeks ago about, we're trying to get some interest in the properties because after we did this, we realized that no one knew the county owned it, they could bid on it, anything to that nature. So Richard and I talked about getting some signs and kind of posting just so people would know that this property was owned by the county through tax surplus, and if they would like to bid, to call me, which they have a lot, which I'm thankful for. But so with that being said, the process through the general statute is like when I came last time to the meeting, we have to present it to you all for what someone has offered, and then it has to run in the newspaper for the first time. So with getting all these calls, I realized it was really going to put us behind if I had to wait to come to you all every time I received one. So what I'm requesting today is, Richard has some calculations on how he come up with the minimum bid, if anyone has any questions on that. But in your packets, I put kind of the tax value, what the fees are currently, and like I said, we've owned a lot of these for quite some time. And then the minimum bid. Tracy covered for me Thursday and Friday because I wasn't here, and she has taken 3 already for 3 different pieces of property this week. And so the one of them is over on Dry Hollow, which a gentleman offered $1,000 on. There's one on Pine Hall Road, and he did the minimum of $625, and then one up on 704 for $1375. So if you all are okay with the minimum bids that Richard has placed, and Jake, I think they worked together on getting those for me, then I would like to proceed with these 3 we have offers on, and then I think Richard spoke with a gentleman today who will be here tomorrow to place on another one that we have. So if you all are okay with these minimum bids, I would like to proceed, if someone comes in with a minimum bid or above, to proceed with the procedures for the 10-day cycle, and then once it's all finished, I'll come back to you and say, this is what we got. Are y'all okay with it? If y'all are okay with that.
Questions, comments?
I'm good with this.
Everybody good?
Just real quick, how do you come up with a minimum bid?
Richard?
Yeah, but it'd be more than the minimum since we're
These properties,
publishing the minimum.
with past foreclosure sales that we had, and no one made a minimum bid. Minimum bid is the taxes plus the fees. Nobody made that minimum bid, so the county took these properties back. A lot of these properties that we got, the vast majority of them are substandard lots. They're only good to the adjoining property owner, only desirable by them. So it kind of stands to reason that if nobody bidding on at the courthouse, they're not really that desirable. So what we did was, I talked with Jake, and we took the lesser of the two, half the tax value plus the $175 estimated recording fee for the deed, or the current fees and taxes plus $175 for the estimated cost of the deed, whichever's less. And in doing that, we should get some offers and get these properties back on the tax books and get them sold and get a little revenue in the same process. I mean, if we didn't, we'd probably own them forever.
Yep, that answers my question.
Oh.
I'm trying.
I think this is a good idea. I think you're going to see, I think you'll get rid of every one of, I looked at your, the way you came up with the formula, and then adding the 175, and I saw those minimum bids, and they should sell now. I think they should sell. Yes, because a lot of people didn't know. I'll be honest, when I got this, I drove down and saw one or two, and I didn't know.
It's like Linda said, they know now.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, y'all just don't know how much they know.
And Glenn, is this something that you want done right away?
If you could move this action, that would be great, because first of all, I have these three, and if I can get approval today, I can get it run in the newspaper this week. And then we can kind of start our process. So that would be wonderful if you can.
Is the board okay with moving that to action agenda today?
Yeah.
Okay, item D. All right, we'll move on to item D on the discussion, surplus property private sale. Ms. Glenda.
I was approached by retired Sheriff Mike Marshall in regards to a 2011 Ford Explorer that is actually the vehicle that he drove when he was sheriff. He inquired to me about doing a private sale, and per the general statute 168, 267, this is allowable. I don't have a problem with doing it if you all don't have a problem with allowing it to be sold that way. You do have to do like a fair market value. We have had an appraisal done on it to kind of get us an idea. I recommended that because I didn't know where to start. So we did that through a car dealer, and so I do have a starting point to discuss with him. I wanted to come to you all first before I did all that, before we got too far in. So if you all are okay with it, then I would like to proceed. Normally, when a sheriff deputy officer retires, we usually give them, or we present for a resolution for the badge and a gun. And in this situation, at the time Sheriff Marshall, he owned his own gun and his own badge. So I would like to proceed with the private sale if you all are okay with me proceeding.
I don't have a problem with it.
I'm good with it.
And if we can move this to action also, that would be great, because I do have to post and publish like we do normally when we do private sale.
I have some questions about
Okay.
We're gonna do it with nobody else getting any opportunity to purchase it. To me, that bothers me a little bit.
Well, actually, I guess that someone could if they wanted to. It's published in the paper and everything to that nature. The general statute, Ty may have to help me kind of decipher that. If someone does.
That's why I need that legal decipher.
Yeah, here you go. Here's the general statute.
I could be wrong, but it seems like whoever was on the board did that with Ruby when Mike Joyce retired, or what happened to Ruby?
They sold it at auction, but he did end up getting it, but it was sold at auction.
But it was brought before the board at that time, my understanding, because I did some digging to see if there was something other than this general statute to fall under.
Gotcha.
I guess my other question while Ty's looking at that, was this vehicle already accessed and up for sale?
Yes, it would be out of service this year. We were waiting for the new patrol cars to come in, or the new cars, and they have all come in. So it is our surplus. at this point. So yes.
Well, 168-267 authorizes disposal by private sale at a negotiated you need to negotiate a price based on the appraisal. So I think you have an obligation to get fair market.
What bothers me about it is that it kind of strikes me like insider knowledge, you know. And that's not a criticism of Mike
Right.
at all or anything. It's just, you know, I can almost hear the questions popping if we do this, and I definitely would prefer not to do it on action today so we can see what kind of feedback we get from it.
Statute authorizes it.
I'm fine, as long as that, you know, statute right there authorizes, I'm fine with moving forward with it, but it's up to the rest of the board.
And looking back, Danny had done some other, well, you know, he was before me, he had done some different private sales on like Crown Vics to a group, and there was different ones that just wasn't necessarily to a retired sheriff.
So there's been
I don't
other,
guess, I have no
so there's been
idea.
other private sales. to
Yes, there has been
individuals.
private sales
So it's
conducted.
no different than
prior to
that, than anybody else that had prior, any knowledge about that.
Those are like piles of clunkers.
I don't know what they were. Some of them, one of them was a Chrysler van.
We're going to salvage yards mainly.
I don't, it really
Well,
wasn't
as long as
specific.
it is a fair market value, I don't see how anybody could say anything about, it's not like we're giving him some special deal on it or something.
This vehicle about wore out, from what I understand, is that correct?
It's a 2011, I think, hang on, I'll tell you about the mileage. It's around 150 on the miles. But it is, it was on the list for, to come out for 2020.
My question is, why does he get the single opportunity instead of all the other residents in the county? And is that because he was a previous sheriff, or
He asked me to
because he's a county
read it to you.
employee, or, I mean,
Or maybe
The
there's
whole
some
thing was-
sentimental value of it.
I think so.
When you run this in the paper, it's almost like the upset bid, just like you do for property, right?
You just have
I
to
know you don't have
publicize
to
it.
do that, but you have to publicize it.
but you're not offering upset bid.
No, you're
You're
not.
just notifying the public.
Could you? I mean, I'm just asking. I don't
Then
know.
it would have to, it wouldn't be a private
Then it wouldn't
sale.
be a
We would
private
have to
sale.
go a different route.
I don't know. Other than using a gov deal like that.
I'd love for Mike to have it, but I'm just not comfortable with that process without at least a little more time to think about it. If the rest of the board's good, then
I kind of have to agree with Commissioner Morris, because I saw the same thing happen where I work at, and I wasn't real happy with that. One person got the chance to bid on all the vehicles, and nobody else did, and I didn't see that very fair to others.
I mean, if it's in the same category as selling him a gun or a pistol, I mean, a gun or a badge, if you can make that argument, then I would be probably good with that. But it seems like they're kind of apples and oranges a little bit. That's why. And I'm not against it. I'm not saying I wouldn't even vote for it. I'm just, I'm not quite in the mood to vote for it so quick.
And it doesn't have to go to action today. If you want to wait, that's totally up to y'all. Whenever you decide, I'll run it for 10 days. Yay or nay, that's totally up to y'all. That's why I'm here.
And it is a little more complicated because it is from the sheriff, but if anybody asked Linda to bring one for private sale, she'd have to, because they asked her to do it, so she's just, putting that before you, how they presented it.
This is a police vehicle versus a standard vehicle, like.
Explorer.
It's an Explorer. It was the one, I'm not sure that,
Or
I
is
wouldn't
it, that's why I guess
consider
I'm
it.
asking a question. Is
Yes.
it the police model, or is it just a standard?
No, it's just a standard Explorer. It did have lights and a siren in it before the guys took it out.
I'm talking about that other stuff that the factory puts in.
Oh, nothing, no. No, it was just a
It's
2011
just standard.
Explorer.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not an Interceptor. The SUVs didn't come out till actually we started leasing through Enterprise, my understanding.
Well, I'm gonna say this. I agree with Mr. Chairman. This is not a first-time thing. It's been done before, correct?
Yes,
It's not,
To someone, I don't know who bought them, but yes,
but this
it
is
has
not
been
the
done in the
first
past.
time this has been
Correct.
approved by the board
For private sale, correct.
for private sale. Commissioner Barney Castle, when it was first brought up, I heard you say you were in agreement and you changed your mind.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not changing my mind. I still believe that if Commissioner, Mr. Marshall made that request, I'm good with that because one, it is not an initiative that has never been done in this county. It has been accomplished before and approved by our board before.
For private sales, yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'm in agreement with you.
Okay. And that's what's up with the statute there, it's not doing anything illegal.
No, I didn't even mean to imply that.
Oh, no, nobody's saying that you implied it was illegal, I'm just saying my decision was based off, it's not illegal. I know the vehicle has a lot of sentimental value to our previous sheriff, Mike Marshall, and he's, one thing that I sit back and look at this on, and it's the same way with anybody, man's put in tireless hours, everything else, he had a very thankless job. Seen just a taste of what he, kind of went through, and, he's wanting to give a fair value for that vehicle right there, as much as that, I don't have a problem with it, as long as it's nothing illegal about it, but, I do appreciate all his service to this county. I think it was much underappreciated to a lot, and that's not saying anything which y'all said. I'm just saying to some out here.
I'm fine with it, but if you want to put it on next agendas, just to give
Give
it
it
time to
time.
sit so anything, anything else comes up about it that we're not thinking of today, that'd be fine.
Everybody fine with putting it on the action agenda next? Okay.
And I just want
Good
to clear.
chance I might vote for it. Ken.
Yeah, I just want to clarify something on that. You know you're gonna get a lot of repercussion from the people in the county, just for the simple fact what's going on today, as much as going on that we talk about. That's, like I said, I don't have a problem with him getting it, but I can assure you, you better be ready for some phone calls, because you're gonna get them. I can tell you that. And that's the only thing I'm thinking about. Mine rings enough without, creating a problem. That's what I'm trying to say.
And since you said that, I'm going to go ahead and add this right here so it's on record. This has been done before.
It's my understanding from when I looked back for things
You
in
get some
private sales.
Yeah.
I can look back and, I can see what I can find. I actually, that's how I got the resolution was I just changed the information. Danny had one on his old computer.
Well, there again, I've listened to what she's saying. That's my understanding.
Yeah.
All right, bring proof that to the board
Okay,
that that's
no
been
problem.
done. And I don't have that big a problem with it, but I want to see proof it's been done in the past.
Yeah.
Anybody can tell me it's been done in the past, but I want to see it on paper.
Right. And Julia May can elaborate to that. Private sale.
And that's a 42-year employee sitting here. I can't remember.
I didn't deal with all that, Danny did.
So how far would those records go back? Because I wasn't here either. Okay, I'll see what I can find.
Well, let's go back, let's go back,
Anything you can do.
Yeah.
I'll see what I can dig up. That's all I can
I was
do.
gonna say is,
Don't have a
I
problem.
think Mr. Nicholson and I both were going on the fact that the statement was made, that it had been done before.
Thank you, sir.
Right?
Yeah.
That was the statement, and that is in the minutes. That statement was
I would
made.
say Shannon
and
May
we
can
were-
help me more with researching the minutes and finding.
But I learned in the last year, if it's not written down on a piece of paper, you didn't do it or you didn't agree to it.
Yeah.
I learned that the hard way. So,
And I wasn't here then, so I can't 100% tell you it was done, but there was a paper on his computer, so he took it to somebody.
All right.
Also, one more thing.
You've done things like give by resolution, like a car to a fire department and not put it out for sale to anybody else.
Right.
Lots of times. I know there's
Right.
tons of that,
Right.
even in the last couple of years.
Right, and it would be the same, that would be,
Oh, that
you're just not
EMS?
selling it.
Right, the EMS things, you did the private sale on to Davie County, wasn't that like $1,100 or something? Wasn't that a private sale?
Yeah. Well, and it's a little
I
different because
know,
it's
but
going
the
from
car.
government, it wasn't,
I know.
it's a different general statute.
Yeah.
Because you're going
We're
from
trying to
government
think of
entity
things
to
that you
government
done.
entity. I haven't done any private sales to a private person other than a governmental since I've been here, but that's only been 2 years, so.
But the statute says you can do it.
Be at the
There was a van and some other stuff, because that's where I got the resolution from.
We,
I'll find
we
it.
found, we read the minutes from that meeting, and they did not elect to do that car,
Right.
the Sheriff Joyce's car, and it got, but then I think they went together and bought it at the auction, so that was that. But we can search the other index ones.
Yeah, I can, I'll see what they actually, I know one of them was a Chrysler van, because that was the one I used, but I only could see when it was, and it was like 2006.
Let me clarify my second half before a phone call starts.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The statute says we can do it. The statute says we can do it.
Exactly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if the reason they didn't do Ruby was for the same reason that we have some concerns.
Yeah, I mean, we can let it back, I mean,
If you can figure that out from looking at minutes or whatever.
It is pretty much, that was the same, that's what I read.
which I think, my understanding, they had went, from what I read, they went and someone asked for it to be given, then they didn't, then they asked for it to be sold, and it didn't, and it kind of went from there, and I guess till they sold it out here.
It turned into a private fundraiser sale than an individual
The
buyer.
usual basis for going with private negotiation sale is that you can expect to get at least as much, if not more, than you can get at a public auction. So that would be usually the justification for the private negotiation.
And the one thing I would have a problem with on that, if we was giving it away for like $500 way under value, yeah, I would see that being kind of wrong, but.
Yeah, but the only thing that came to my mind, I just read something just in the past few days that used car prices are really high now. Some used cars are going for higher than they originally sold for.
Saw it on,
So that's another consideration.
I saw it on the news.
Yeah, my friend that runs a car dealership in Kernersville can't get cars. He just
Yep.
can't get them. They're so priced so high.
So, you know, you have to consider that, you know, if you put it out for public auction, you may get more than what your appraised value is.
And you may not.
Then you may
Yeah.
not. You may not.
Well, and back to the other one, when they tried to do it for Sheriff Joyce, they weren't asking to purchase it for the value, they were gonna gift it.
Gift it.
That, and then
They were-
but they didn't do gov deals and all those things, and where Linda gets tax values and all that, so she was able to
Yeah.
establish a value. That is a little different.
Yeah.
It was actually
that's right.
purchase, so it wasn't a.
It's different when you
Yeah, they
to
were,
just give it to
Right,
somebody
right,
versus somebody offering fair market value for it. Okay.
What's your phone number again, Wayne?
hey, they put mine out there on a bunch of signs, you're saying.
I feel mine buzzing right now.
I think mine just went out there.
Just go like Commissioner Moore said, go onto the Newton County website, it's got it posted on there, so. All right, we'll move on to item E now, the PTRC appointment request, Ms. Brown.
So there's a vacancy on the Piedmont Triad Regional Workforce Development Board, and a candidate has been identified and expressed interest in filling this position, in this vacancy, and that individual is Dawn Cardwell, and we have received an application for her, and so the vacancy will also be advertised as by public notice on the website.
Okay. Any questions or comments on that?
Anybody know her?
I was gonna ask the exact same thing. I don't know her now.
So we need to nominate her then, or?
I have a little hesitation nominating somebody that I don't know at all.
I don't, never heard of her.
Is the nomination still open or they're
Well,
closed?
They've had the position open for a long time, she just now sent this one to us to put on the meeting to present. Did you, the lady that sent this to you from PTRC?
Tanya Wilk.
Did she have personal knowledge of Dawn Cardwell, do you know?
She recommended her. I mean, that's what she said, that she has been identified, has expressed interest in it. She didn't say whether she knew her personally or not. But
How long was it open for somebody to file?
ask the PTRC how long they've had a vacancy on that one. I think it's been a few months.
Who recommended her down there?
Tanya Welch.
Tanya Welch.
We can put it on action next time. Let's do some homework.
Well, and you'll have to nominate it today if you wanted to do that, and then have to go on advertise for somebody else to do it. We wouldn't approve it till next time anyway. Or you can wait till next time and we can try to ask her if she knows much about it.
I feel a lot more comfortable waiting the next time on. We have 5 commissioners here, and not one of us knows this person.
My thought on that would be a good thing. If I got nominated by someone for some kind of position or something, I think I would come and speak and show who I am and talk about myself a little bit.
Especially, on her application, she's been employed with, Wheeling Copper for 35 years, so I don't know if anybody,
Even though that gives us some background, it still doesn't, we've never met her.
yeah. One thing we could do too in the future, this is an old appointment application that we've always used forever. We could probably make that a little more thorough, have them even attach a resume sometimes. If it's a position you really want to make sure you know who they are, kind of get a little bit of back history from them instead. It doesn't give them much time to tell you anything on those applications.
That's a good point.
They're all really vague.
Yep.
So we could probably do that. Maybe they put some
That might be
references,
good.
like references on there
Yeah.
for them.
Since we're gonna do it, do I still need to open the,
Let's just wait, you want to put it back in
Okay.
discussion for next time?
that'd be
Let's just
fine.
let
I'm
us
fine with
know.
that.
Yeah, do that.
Then we could even ask her for more information if somebody does know.
Okay.
Sounds good.
We'll look at tweaking that application and putting references on there, so that would help.
All right. Sounds good. All right, we move on to item F, the JCPC appointment requests. Ms. Brown.
So the Stokes County Juvenile Crime Prevention Council Board is recommending the reappointment of the following board members: Doug Rose, Tammy Martin, Kathy Kaiser, Anna Keaton, and Jerry McGee. Several new vacancies have also come up as well, and they have recommended the following members: Gino Barney-Castle, Gail Alston, Kevin Kilby, Amber Brown, and Cameron Ragazzi. And the vacancies will also be advertised on the website as well.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we accept these designee appointees. The slate. Only one I have a question about is Barney Castle.
I was gonna see which one was gonna do it first.
What's the relation there?
Sister-in-law.
Oh, okay.
She works for probation, juvenile probation.
Yep.
Yeah. I think all these people work in that, except for Amber over there.
Well, you're all right, guy, so I guess you'll be all right for our appointee, so. I got a motion on it. In discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Do I have to poll or anything like that?
I was about to make a second.
Okay. Do I have a motion to close the floor?
Closed. Motion.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. So be moved to action at the next, does that need to be done now, or is that something that could go to next meeting?
It has to go to
Next
Okay,
meeting.
has to go next meeting, all right. All right, with that, move on to item G, the environmental help fee request. Mr. Oakley.
Mr. Chairman, on May the 18th, the Board of Health held their regular meeting. As you know, you and I are part of that. And during this meeting, Brandon Joyce presented to the Board of Health their fees that they have for environmental health. And in this, you'll see attached is a comparison for where they showed Rockingham, Surrey, Forsyth, and Stokes, and then the average between them, and then what Brandon has recommended to the board to move to on increasing the fees. And the board that night approved to adopt these new fees, and now it is now being presented to the Board of Commissioners for approval and to allow them to move forward with this in the new fiscal year.
Okay. Thank you, sir. And with that, I will say, when Mr. Joyce come and presented this, he went into great detail and discussed his reason for the fee changes. The only thing the Board of Health was concerned about was the $300 permit fee for a tattoo. They thought maybe it was being a little bit discriminating. I think the board finally come to a conclusion on it that, even everywhere else, it's not much difference there. Besides that, if there's any more questions or comments on that, just let me know.
Well, I was going to ask, it was an upfront question of mine as I looked at some of them. Some had no change. Some had increases, but many of them didn't. Now, I was just going to ask for the rationale. I mean, he did give you a rationale for each
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
He went through and explained everything real well, so,
All right. That's all I need to know.
okay. questions or comments on it?
Not action today, right?
No?
You know, all this stuff we're gonna get phone calls about here today, so. I guarantee you get them on this. Oh, yeah, I'd like to digest it for a couple.
Okay. And all in all, I think mostly there was really no change. I mean, there was some decreases, some increases, but it wasn't much overall.
Just pay attention to your residential fees.
Yep.
Can I ask why, Mr. Oakley, can I ask why, like a 2-bedroom had no fee, and then a 4 or 5-bedroom was pretty expensive? I mean, I know the septic capacity is much different in a 2-bedroom than a 4 or 5-bedroom, but is it that much? I think a 2-bedroom residential had no fee, or?
A 2-bedroom had no increase.
Right.
And a 3-bedroom had a small increase of $25. And the 4-bedroom went to $50. And the 5-bedroom went to $75 increase.
Just due to the amount.
It's the amount of tail line that they have to look at, the size of the tank, the amount of water that is running through the house. So they got more detail they got to really look into and find out.
Okay.
So it's,
I thought that's what it was. I just wanted to be sure.
yes.
Thank you.
One other question I have, on the far column, it's on the last ones on several of them, it's got like .50/G with 700 max. Somebody interpret that, is that 50 cents per gallon or something, or? And one of them's 50, then another one's $1/G, that's the combo IP/CA.
I would have to get Brandon Joyce to,
Just email us what that means.
yeah, we'll get him to answer that question.
Just trying to figure out what the number is. Okay.
I know you went over it at this meeting, but I cannot.
It's been a while back. It's been a lot's happened since then.
What he said that was, so a good email to all the board members would be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says like non-residential commercial IP is 50.50/G with 700 max. What we're charging now, whatever that number is.
And I want to say also with some of these changes, Mr. Oakley, you can probably help me with this. Well, also one of the reasons, like for these ones going up, like the more bedrooms and stuff, didn't he also say it meant more trips out there on inspections? That was a reason for increase.
More trips.
Yeah.
And these increase, it's been a while since we've had, maybe looked at these increases in any. So it's not something that's come to you guys. I don't know if y'all can ever remember having a price increase in environmental health, as far as the water, septic tank is concerned, but, and what they oversee. But, it is trying to stay within, being compatible with what other counties are doing. Instead of someone here in Rockingham County paying, $275, and we're not the same. They're trying to make it consistent in the county, and it really is based on the amount of time and effort they had to put into the larger tanks and the larger landfills. Which, when Brandon emails you something out, I guarantee you he'll put enough information in there that you're going to find out exactly why and what for. So,
As long as we talked, I think we spent about an hour and a half on it that day in that meeting.
we did.
So
We did.
went through it pretty thoroughly. Any more questions or comments on that? All right. Move back to action next meeting. Everybody good? All right. Move on to item I, the Stokes County Waste Transfer / Recycling Station Updated Fee Schedule.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, ma'am.
Item H.
Did I skip that? I sure did. Yep, sorry about that. Item H, the NC Department of Public Safety lease. Ms. Brown.
So the North Carolina Department of Public Safety occupies a lease space in Stokes for probation and parole. The current no-cost lease is ending, and this new lease will start July 1st, if approved. County Attorney Browder has reviewed the lease and drafted a memo of approval. So due to the new lease start date of July 1, this item will need to be moved to today's action agenda, if we can.
Okay, any questions, comments on that?
One question.
Mr. Minhall.
Hang on just one second. I'm trying to pull it up here. Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
You're fine.
I'm trying to find it. Ty, on the memorandum of approval that you put forth to Amber Brown, it was dated June 15th. It says lease agreement between the County of Stokes and the State of North Carolina for probation and parole office space at 1011 Main Street and 1012 Main Street in Danbury for the period of July 1, 2021 to May 30, 2024. We starting over then instead of waiting to, you got July 1, 2021, but then it's ending May 30, 2024. So what would the month of June 2024 be?
That's what they included in all these. That's the language they did.
Yeah,
Now, I was just wondering, there's a month
They're a
seems to
little
be
bit behind.
missing.
a little bit behind in doing it.
They're behind, yeah.
Okay.
If you look at the email that I received from the North Carolina, DPS, the probation people, they apologized, saying that there was a 30-day delay.
Oh, okay.
It's their fault, and they had overlooked it.
I just saw the discrepancy there. And thank you.
Good eye.
More questions, comments on that? All right. You said it would have to be moved to action today?
Yes, sir, we can. Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
Does the board have a problem? All right.
Be item E, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. All right, now we'll move on to item I. Stokes County Waste Transfer / Recycling Station Updated Fee Schedule. Is that Mr. Oakley or is that Mr. Stewart? Easter. Did everybody get a copy of the?
The biggest reason that I was looking at this is to keep the staff over there from counting nickels and dimes. Being there at the end of the day, having to count change, people coming up to the window, especially on the residential side, because it's currently $5.20. So somebody rolls up to the window, they have to dig for a quarter, they have to pull out change from what we're charging. So I went and looked at it and tried and rounded to a nearest dollar, which in the end, it would go to $6 at 200 pound, and every 100 pound after that, it would go up $3. So if you look at it by the ton, you're only going up $1 per ton for residential, and it's basically just to keep that change from them counting. At the end of the day, being in there longer, they can do the money quicker and get out. Comp time issues, stuff like that, and that's why we went with this.
It is some weird numbers.
Yes, it's weird numbers. I mean, 520, 830, 1140 is what it was. Just to make it easier on those folks to get out a little quicker and be, to do away with that change, counting part. And the commercial rates, we raised those a little bit too, just to kind of compare. Now, I've not went back and looked at some of the other counties. I think the supervisor has, but I told him to kind of come up with an idea, and I looked at it too, and we put this together. The cost of keeping these vehicles on the road and the trucks is you know, everything's gone up. So it's been since 2008, since this rate was current since 2008. So I think it's something needed to kind of help us out a little bit.
Question. Mr. Morse?
Kurt, I was gonna compliment you on getting rid of the change. I didn't know that's the reason you did it, but
It
it's
really
as big a
is.
hassle for the people paying it as it is for your people counting it, so.
Yeah, and I went over there myself and stood in there, and everybody that comes up, well, it's, you know, you got less than 200 pound, $5.20. Well, they scratch around. They ain't got a quarter. They, you know, and then the ones that do, then at the end of the day, they're in there counting nickels and dimes, and it's just easier to,
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
yeah, to round it up.
As long as you don't make it so high that people throw it off on the road, then we're good to go. And
Well,
I think
that's-
This will do that.
That's kind of why I wanted to compare. At the end of the day, per ton, it was only $1 more per ton by doing it this way than what it is now.
Good idea.
Any more questions or comments on it? And since this is effective July 1, 21, I imagine it is on action today.
If y'all are okay with that. I just wanted to start the new budget out year with this price, if we could.
Are you fine with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
Hey, I live a mile from Sizemore Road, and you wouldn't imagine the amount of trash that falls out in my yard and my mom's yard.
I believe it.
Unbelievable.
All right. We got that down as item F, Amber?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. All right, move on to our action agenda. Item A, the Stokes County fiscal year 21-22 budget ordinance. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, item B, the updated dynamic investment incentive resolution. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item C, the county attorney a contract. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Are we on version 2?
Version 2. Motion to approve version 2.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to thank you, Rick.
All right.
And we have a
Second.
second.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item D, the sales tax foreclosed property. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item E, North Carolina Department of Public Safety lease. Have a motion?
To approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Item F, the Stokes County Waste Transfer Recycling Station updated fee schedule. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Amber, if you would, please read us the rationale for closed session.
To consult with an attorney employed or retained by the public body in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorney and the public body, which privilege is hereby acknowledged pursuant General Statute 143-318.11A3, and to consider and take action with respect to the position to be taken by the county in negotiating the price or other material terms of an agreement for the acquisition or lease of real property pursuant to General Statute 143-318.11A5.
All right. Do I have a motion going to close?
Should be on close.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Closed. What is it?
4/7 for 12 days.
So no further business, do I have
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Meeting adjourned.
Yeah, I got something you to look at right here.
I got to go play grandma. See y'all.
See ya.
Bye.
All right.
Safe.